Yes, welcome back again to Sapiens Talks. And today we are going to talk about is your opinion truly yours in this technologically driven world? As we know that in this fast-paced, technologically driven world, our opinions and our beliefs are being shaped, constantly being shaped by the kind of platforms we interact with and the kind of technology we are using. And one more thing that in today's world, the data has now become the king, and the information is flowing constantly at the lightning speed. And this is you already know, and everybody knows that we are constantly coming in touch with different kind of people and different kind of things, and whatever we read, whatever we listen to, somewhere and somehow just make some room in our mind. And this is what is affecting, or you can say altering, the kind of opinion we have of ourselves and of the things. So this is what we're gonna speak today. And my friend is there, Robin. Today now we are gonna discuss about the same. So would you like to say something about it before we start with question and answers? And before we start going into details, let's have a brief. Let people know what we are exactly going to talk about.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So good evening, first of all. And yes, this topic is your opinion, yours is something very important topic since I don't know how many people take this thing in that way, the way we have understood it, the way we have taken it, because it's a bit of complex when we try to go deeper into this very question because something is which is very much manifested as what we speak is often claimed as our own possession. But the next question arises as to what extent it belongs to you. So when we come up with this kind of question, we try to go into the deeper section of it and try to find out exactly what is this all about and whether our opinion is ours or whether it is governed, instructed, or motivated by some other factors. So this particular video will deal with all those important, you know, factors which play a very significant role in forming our opinions. Interesting thing about this is that many people really not aware of this very fact because it happens at a very subtle level. We really don't know when and how and why, what source we are going to be influenced and we are in being influenced, and how these kinds of opinions are being formed within us. So all these things will be taken care of especially in this video, and we'll try to see all possible aspects of these opinions. And in this way, we will try to sum up in the end as to what the possible way to look at this entire presentation of this video, which we are presenting you with this question is our opinion arts, right? So over to you.
Yes, actually, today for our discussion, I've got I've just taken down some questions which we're gonna discuss, because that's important. Because people must know the kind of questions we are gonna just answer. Everybody thinks what these questions may be, right?
Yeah.
So we have just taken down those important questions which people would love to listen to, right? So the first question, my first question for you to answer is, how do you define the personal, you can say the opinions, autonomy of personal opinion in this today's digital age?
Okay. I mean, this question is nice, but for our viewers, I want to deconstruct this question at the very first place because autonomy on our opinion may cause a bit problem or confusion in the mind of the viewers as to in what context we are saying it and how it is possible if someone is spoken by us and to which we hold a claim as to we know this and it is just our own possession, then whether there is a need to prove or whether there is a need to get the validity as it belongs to us or it belongs to other. So these things must be very figured out. So when we say that autonomy on our own opinion, it simply refers or imports an idea where we try to figure out as to in how many ways our opinion are affected and influenced, and by using a proper analysis or by proper uh, holding a position such as all these kinds of factors that are involved in forming of your opinion. So when we try to gather the data of it, we actually concluded that it literally belongs to us because it has got no interventions from the influences of any kind, right? So when we try to say that our opinion is ours, and secondly, since it is ours and therefore we are the one can celebrate it as our own property, as our own possessions, and therefore it makes us feel that we can at least enjoy this autonomy on this particular kind of opinion. So I will try to respond to this in my own way and try to make it simple for all the viewers as to how they should understand this whole scenario and how it actually works.
Yes, so whatever we are going to tell people, that is our own opinion. This is, what we
Yeah,
believe. It is not that, it is everybody's opinion. Everybody is, independent, you can say, and their opinions is independent. So whatever we think, we're just going to share those things, right?
absolutely, absolutely. See, I mean, this is always our discussions for further scrutinization. So
Yes,
whosoever listens to this video and follows this video, they have full space and room that they can give their counters and rebuttals if they find we are wrong in some places. And we will be welcoming all those kinds of comments. So
yes,
there is no doubt about it.
yeah,
What we are sharing with the people here is that the experience we have gathered. Okay, so and many of the things are very standard, and there are many things which are general, so people accept it probably. So I will discuss with all those things which are held to be general. Secondly, I'll also discuss all those subtle points which are somewhere missing out just because of in the busyness of life people are not giving due care concern to this in order to finalize it whether the opinions are or not, right?
yes,
So we will understand this from that standpoint. So beginning with the very first point, whether we hold the autonomy on our opinion, especially in this digital world, is the question at our hands today. So we need to understand first one thing, that when we try to figure out whether this opinion is certainly our opinion, then we only can say with the help of a proper process, and the process is the self evaluation, the self investigation. The self evaluation and self investigation is possible when you first become impartial,
yes,
especially throughout the journey, and you go into all these process and to figure out as to in how many ways you are being affected and influenced. Since we talk about that we are living in this technology driven world, so it will be like, you know uh, I mean, to say that we are not affected, i mean no one can believe this at this point of time, right? That we are not completely affected by that, because we are already driven, we are already surrounded by the high tech world, and it's impossible that we are not affected in any way. We are affected in many ways. It is just because of we are not able to capture this, we are not able to grasp this as to how we are getting affected. So we need to understand this, and once after using proper reasoning without having any biasness into this, we can certainly reach to a conclusive remark that yes, it belongs to us, or maybe it is a partial opinion, but it is somewhere influenced too, right? So these things are only possible when we make self efforts first. Second, the effort must not be biased. Third important thing, there must be a personal curiosity to go into the matter, because until unless you have a curiosity in you whether your opinion is yours, and then you try to search it out and find out your entire behavior, how you conduct, and see how the entire world, which we call a digital world, influence you, then you actually reach to conclusive remark in that way, right?
yes,
So all these things have to be dealt very carefully. But as I told you, previously that we, in all that process, when we are trying to figure out about this question as to our opinion is ours or not, we throughout the process have to be very much kind of conscious, and we have to accept where we know that something is influencing us. Many people really don't care about it, and they really don't give a much attention to where they influence, just because of they are very much busy and in enjoying the credibility they actually get after every opinion as it is acknowledged in the world, right? This happens with everyone, and it is a psychological nature of a human. So if your opinion is acknowledged well, secondly, it is accepted by a large number of population, you would not take a retreat from accepting this fact that this belongs to me only, even when you know personally that it is an effect on you from various sources. So all these things, what you can say, are combinedly, you know, I mean, making our opinion in some or other way. But at the time, as I told you, we have a way out, and the way out is that what we have discussed in the previous part. Over to you.
Yes, you mean to say that because we are human beings, we have got, logic, we have got, discretion, we've got, intelligence, and we can, if we just come across something, we can give it a thought, we can ponder over it, we can come up with some, our own ideas, and this is
Right.
how we can, we can do the scrutiny, we can then come up with some logical sense, and then we can say that, something is really you can say genuine, or something is not at all
Absolutely.
unacceptable. So this is what should be doing, right? My next question for you to answer is, can you tell me, are people really aware of uh, this fact that they're actually being influenced by and the technology they're using? And if they're aware, then to what extent they think they're influenced, or they never give it a damn? This is what we're going to discuss.
I mean, it's a very difficult to say with an exact data, but
Yes.
by and large, we can form an opinion again here on the basis of personal experience, since as we are not in a state of denial in terms of the influence that we have from our surroundings, from this digital world. So it is not a possible scenario at all, according to me, where we can confidently come out and say that we are completely, you know, in a composition or a kind of composer mindset, with a state of equanimity, that we are not completely affected by the social environment we created, you know, and therefore whatever we say only according to the experience we got. So such an assumption will remain an assumption. It has to be validated further. So according to me, I think a large section of people is still not aware of this a very fact that their opinion is influenced by multiple sources, just because of they are not ready in understanding the fact that in how many ways their interactions with different people giving a different experience, and how these different experiences are somewhere forming this opinion in the mind of a person. So this is what you can say and feel like, and it is very common whenever we watch anything or follow any social media network, or let's say any media channel, we come out with a mindset where we really want to listen to something which we want, and the with the help of personalized data, which is very much kind of a deliberate attempt by the net, or by, you can say, the algorithm, which is trained on a particular kind of data by a biased mind. Now in this way, our entire focus only concentrated only on one thing. We many times miss the second position that could also be held on the same particular kind of topic, just because of we were very much engrossed in our own way, and we were very much kind of sticking to only one topic to see the only one aspect of the picture. So this is what happens in most of the cases. But as again I told you, there is also a section of people who are highly aware. They are not just aware, but at the same time, they are very much attentive and vigilant with their mind, as they are very able to find out first and target all those sources which continuously giving them infliction in the form of influences. And at the same time, they are very active and courageously trying to filter all these influences, remaining with their own particular opinion, because they are very intellectual, they are highly conscious, and they know what makes an opinion to become an opinion, a true opinion, when it is not a result of a judgment, but an observation. So you will find one common trait, especially among those who really hold their opinion separate from the opinions of the large number of people, is that their way of dealing with the data and the videos or the talking or listening to their influencers people, or to whom they really pay much reverence, that they only listen and observe everyone's discussions and the talks, but they never become a judgmental, not for a single second. And this helps them to create their own opinion at the end. So we have two categories. First, which is very much kind of a large number of population which are going in the same directions. They are not having any sort of insinuation in any from anywhere, that they are being influenced in how many ways, and whatever they hold as their opinion, they still call that this is their opinion. But in fact, it is not, because it is highly affected and inflicted. But on the other side, there is a section of people also who are doing it very carefully and cautiously. And I think this second section of the people is much important, especially in the process of development of the society as well as the nation, because we need some fresh opinion, and we should also know that how the internet world works, and plays with the mind, the sentiment of the common people like us. So this is what the situation I feel on this particular questions. Over to you.
Yes, what I believe is, people who are highly intellectual and people who are, damn intelligent, people who are damn qualified, can save themselves from being affected from this technology we are using these days. But most of the people who sometimes, we are left with no option but to use and accept whatever we come across, right? For example, suppose a student who has to prepare a project, and for that for project's preparation, he doesn't see anybody who can help him. So
Right.
what the student does, he simply goes and just starts using whatever he lays means he can use, and whatever he sees over there, he just puts that down and start writing or preparing the things similarly, because he has no other option to go for, right? In this situation, they cannot actually, the that student cannot do away with that option, because he
Right.
doesn't have anybody to go to, right? So this is, people know that they are to some extent, they are influenced, but they are sometimes left with no option but to go for these things,
Right.
right? If they have
Right.
somebody who can guide them through the whole journey, through the whole process, I think they would not be so much dependent on the technology. And
Right.
just because now we've got free access, and also easy access to the technology, that instead of going to people and asking them, we think it better to do the
Right.
things on our own, because we are just a click away from the repertoire of knowledge, repertoire of information,
Right.
right? So that's why
Right.
people are influenced, but yes, they know, but yes, they
Yeah.
cannot know how much they're affected or influenced.
Okay. Right. Right.
My next
Right.
question on this is, very pressing question, and also have just taken down it on a piece of paper. So I'm just, ask means I'm just telling you that question, and then I want to know that you should answer that in whatever you can, capacity, right? The question is, what is the psychological impact of content, the constant exposure to the technology? Because we are somewhere, influenced, and the technology has impacted us. It has also, impacted us psychologically. So, to what extent, and how people are getting psychologically impacted by the constant use of technology? And do you see somewhere that we our psychology is also being impacted?
Obviously. So my answer is an affirmation first of all. Before I hit this question in my own way, but my answer is an affirmation because we are living in this era where our every activity is well recorded, especially in computer. Our entire professional activities are well regulated by the internet, by the computer. So it is just like to be living in a fallacy when we say that our psychology is not at all affected by the social media channels or by the internet or by whatever these things which are capturing us and trapping us in their own way. The detrimental effect which possibly I could figure out, especially which directly attacks the mind of a person, that is that it is losing or it is weakening the capacity of thinking of a person, because total reliance upon one particular entity somewhere making people little more comfort as they are finding themselves to be wasting their time if they resort to something else as an option. For instance, if we really want to understand something and need a bit explanation on a particular topic at hand, the first and the foremost thing that we will try to do is that we will look into the sources of all these kinds of uh, channels, websites, which are well presented and which are well designed on the computer through different ways. But we won't look and grab a particular book on the same discipline and try to read that. So this psychological impact is very apparent as too much of involvement into the internet activities, considering this is only a source of our information and knowledge, which perhaps to a certain extent is right, but the way it has snatched away from us a habit of reading book, which is also causing a much impact on the mind of the people, because this also creates a kind of vicious cycle where we continue to be in trap of this internet. We all know about the algorithms and how it works. We all know the kind of setup and this modified designed websites which are there to capture you, your emotion and sensitivity, everything in its own style, without letting you know that you are being influenced. This is the reality in today's world, and we take a pride in that. We get cherished on this reality, saying this that since this is the creation of arts, whatever we have fed into this as a data, it only serves to us. But at the same time, we should also know that these technology in the form of computer always come with a lot of data, which is itself a kind of complexity, right? It's itself a kind of a problem for the people to figure out as to which should be held valid, so that we could further our process of learning on that following the very path, right? So all these things are somewhere giving a very negative impact on the mind of the people. Second important thing, as I told previously or somewhere else, I don't know where I said this, but we are somewhere very much affected psychologically by these kinds of internet, that is at our disposal. And it is not just because of uh, the internet has become our need, but somewhere internet has taken us into its domain, making us habitual of it. So even when we really don't need it at all, but still we continue to serve and continue to live and lead a life with this without having an idea that it also has an impact on our mind in many ways. And we can talk about multiple kind of a number of cases, especially coming from the age group of 15, 16, and 17, since their minds are malleable, right? Their minds are on the point where it could be shaped the way they want, and to be using computer in that particular crucial age, 16 or 17 or 18, and that to use it without having a proper guidance on it, I think what to say, but the effect on the brain of this new generation of the internet could also be seen in the multiple cases as it is coming out of a criminal nature, of a civil crime nature, right?
Yeah,
So
this is
these are the
what
things.
I've noticed, because students from class 8 to 12th, and everybody, whether they're in class 5th, and 6th, everybody is using. And I can see the noticeable impact, and that impact is not actually a better one, it's a worse one, I would say.
Right.
Nowadays, I've noticed one thing, that students don't really want to study in the sense they have lost their learning capacity, right? Learning
Absolutely.
abilities, and they don't really want to write, they don't want to read. And they are so heavily dependent on the technology that if you give them some, a particular sum to be done, instead of not doing that, instead of making efforts to solve it, they'll simply be putting it, in chat GPT, and they'll have it done, right? So
Right.
this is the kind of mentality, the kind of, I would say, nature, they have developed
Right.
over the period of time, right? Just because they are so much busy doing searching the things on the internet, that they have no time to sit down and study, and to give the
Right.
mind something to read, something to work out. They have lost all these habits.
Right.
And students, I would say 95% students are not at all giving their, I would say, best in two studies.
Right.
And this
Right.
is not a good sign,
Except
right? Uh,
it's not at all.
if you don't sit down to study, if you don't work out a brain, if you don't go for long sittings, how can you then be able to, you can say, develop your brain? Because this brain is a kind of machine which keeps functioning if you keep using it. If
Right.
you don't use it, then it becomes rusty, and that's what is
Absolutely.
happening. Because that our nature is not, we just want to be in comfort zone, right? And
Right.
what happens, when you just browse the pages on internet, you don't have to make any effort, you're just simply, so paging up and paging down, and this is the
Right.
simplest thing you can do. But when you sit down to study, what happens, the first thing that happens to you is you start, dozing off, because
Right.
that's where your mental faculties are in action, right? And that's when, somewhere I read this thing, that why don't we see many thinkers in this world? Because the thinking is the toughest thing there is.
Yeah.
Because once you start thinking, you just slip into, I would say, you become, very lazy, or you
Yeah.
become,
It's hard to- in a
sleepy,
state of
because you
lethargy.
have to think a lot, right?
Absolutely.
And this is, what I'm noticing these days. So too much reliance on anything, too much, I would say, use of something is never good. Better to sit down and do something on your own, so that you can have a mental exercise, right? Instead of just, sitting and browsing the pages. And this is, what we are seeing, and this has really impacted people psychologically, very,
Right.
to a large extent, I would say. The next
Right. Right.
question, I have for you to answer is, tell me, as you know that, because you've also taught students, and I'm also teaching. So what I have seen, if you give them something to write and something to think, they just think of just searching it on the internet. Don't you think that somewhere it's killing the creativity of a person's mind? Because
Okay.
if you don't force yourself to think, your brain will stop, thinking.
Hmm.
And when they start thinking, they just overthink,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
So, what do you think? Has has this use of technology killed the creativity of a person's mind, or somewhere it has benefited the minds of people?
See, I have a mixed opinion on this and mixed response.
Hmm.
I mean, to this question, first of all, and the mixed response is as such, where I think that obviously that to some extent it kills the creativity, but at the same time we need to understand this very underlying fact that not all people in current scenario, get those opportunities where they can have much exposure to continuously changing circumstances. People would agree to my this very statement and my idea when I say, when you have a multiple opportunities leading you to face multiple you know uh, circumstances and eventualities, you really don't need to look after anything or to look into anything for the self development. You yourself become mature and become very much adapted to all possible unknown circumstances and the possibilities, right? So in this way what we find that this section of people who are pretty much into the crowd section of area and deal with the vicissitude of life on a regular basis, where they try to face everything on its own, for them I don't think an internet could be serving any assistance in a way where they could really take an help in order to have some self development or a mental development. The mundane reasoning that they experience on the regular basis and the challenges upon which they get a new experiences every time when they meet itself becomes a new lesson to them, and in this way their creativity to a certain extent increases. I mean, why do we see that only few people, only those who have, traveled across the globe, are very different in the way they see the world from the other people who are sitting at home and only delving into the matters which is projected to them through these kinds of channels and internet facilities or the computer, right? So I'm talking about that section of people which is one where that gets opportunity, where they earn their own particular experiences and they face it and they put much less reliance over internet. But there is also a big section of people, undeniably, that is only reliant upon or completely centered upon these kinds of sources which is served by the internet. But this is also an accepted and acknowledged fact that until unless you know the possible scenarios beforehand, one person gets it through experiences, that is one thing, but the other person understands it prior to its occurrence. And this is only possible when you go and see the experiences of other. So these internet facilities and the computers that serves to different kind of explanations on different kind of situations, as usually happens globally. So when the youth or the people go and have an interaction with them digitally, they actually try to shape their mind and make their mind aware about all those possible things might happen, because before that they really were not in the knowledge that that particular things even exist. So to have a confirmation on something that exists first requires a person to actually look into that matters, and especially when you are not well aware and get particular engrossed in the worldly activities. In this way the internet really helps to these people because it gives them a wholesome experience. Now again, the question which I want to raise at the end is that whether this particular experience they get from the internet or computer out of their personal searches in the search engines they do really helpful to them, or are they really working to them, or is these kinds of things are motivated or instructed by something else without applying any reasoning on it. So the last questions is always with all those kinds of you know uh, uh, internet surfers who surf the internet on a regular basis as to how they utilize it, right? So that's what I have to say on this. Over to you.
Okay, so what I believe is, we if we know what we are doing, then I think this is not going to be problematic for us, right? If we have the control, if we have the discipline, right, and if we apply some logic to the things we are doing, I think this is not going to be a means hindrance in a way,
Right.
right? This is, for example, I also use internet, also use technology because I cannot deny this fact. There is no denying the fact that we don't use it. We do use it, but at the same time, for example, if I have to means if I have to decide which book I should buy, so I would just be asking people whom I'm connected with. And how am I connected with those people? Because I have this internet facility. I am
Right.
in a group where people talk about books. They talk about on different programs. So I just know their opinion. They just give their opinion on what book I should go for on a particular topic, and then I just buy it, and then I start reading it, and then I apply it. We cannot
Right.
just be there and just spend all our time looking for the things, and looking for things, and instead in the process we just get sidetracked. So if you are learning the things and you're applying at the same time, then this is I think we are living in this era where we are
Right.
fortunate enough to have so many facilities at the click of a button, right? So
Right.
suppose if I have to, as we are having this on this is a live session, right? So this wouldn't have been possible if we didn't have this facility, right? If we then didn't have the technology
Right.
we're using the technology, right? But putting the technology to your account, then this is going to be beneficial for you. So there,
Right.
there you have to set some boundaries, while you are using it. If you don't set the boundaries, if you don't know what you should do and what should be avoiding, then problems are really going to be there for you. So if you apply your logic, if you
Absolutely.
apply your intelligence, and if you have some goals, right? Because if you don't have goal, then you will be there wasting your time. Because a person wastes
Right.
times when they don't have the goal. If do have the goals, but they don't realize the importance of the goal. They don't realize how important it is for them to keep working on that particular goal instead of wasting time. So this is how a person can save himself or herself from getting too much and highly influenced by the technology they're using, right? And yes, when we say that is our opinion is really ours, then we have to give it a thought, because nobody knows better
Right.
than ourselves. Because if I
Right.
say no, my opinion is mine, I know whose opinion is this, and who
Absolutely.
I'm being
Absolutely.
getting affected by, right? So it's it'll be injustice to say that somebody is
Absolutely.
influenced because the person knows well, right?
Therefore, did you remember the point where I raised this very word that before you want to acknowledge the fact that this particular thing, which is spoken by you, is your opinion, then first you need to decide whether it's yours or not. And it could
Yes,
only be possible when you come with an investigation with your
yes,
unbiased approach. So
yes.
this unbiased approach is that thing where we have to,
Yeah,
figure
definitely.
it out.
A person has to do some soul searching, right? And then
Absolutely.
they can come up with the right response, I would say.
Absolutely.
And we cannot fool everybody. We can, if we can fool others, then but we cannot fool ourselves. Ultimately,
Absolutely.
it is us
Ah,
who knows ourselves well, right?
hmm. But
So this is
who doesn't like to be attributed to something? This is the core point, right? And this
yes,
is the core issue. I mean,
yeah,
if someone wants to acknowledge the words I have just spoken, even I know the reality behind it that falls in, but I would love to accept it and appreciate it and enjoy it. But
yes.
this is what the true fact is, right? This is a human psychology.
One
It
mistake
needs a
I
little
made in my
training.
life, but now because now I'm so much into writing, so I every day whenever I get some time I just write. So but one day what happened, I just took somebody else's thought, and uh, just said that it's been written by me. But later on, when I realized that if I want to be a writer, I cannot actually what we call that, I cannot take somebody else's ideas. This is called
Absolutely.
plagiarism, right? So I cannot go for that. If I don't actually write anything on my own, how can I ever become a writer? So
Right.
and on that day I realized that no, I should be doing everything on my own, whether it's going to be appealing to people or not, but I should be accepting the reality. And if I don't accept the reality, I can never ever become what I truly want to be. So we have to
Right.
accept, and we know it very well that we are right or we are wrong, or who we are influenced by, right? So these questions which we have discussed are general questions, and this is in our own opinion. And somewhere we have shared whatever we think is the reality, and people's opinion can be different from ours. They can differ in terms of their opinions, but we just want audience to just make the comments so that we can get to know about I mean about I don't know this particular thing which we have just discussed. And we will be fortunate enough if we get the comments from people, so that we can also improve the content we are creating. And whatever we are creating, that is meant for the audience alone, right? Because we want to share ourselves with the audience. And somewhere people, we are getting benefited by people's opinions in the form of comments. And this can also uh, do some miracles. This can help us do better, right? So this is
Right. Right. Right.
we have a goal to improve ourselves, and the goal is
Right.
we want people to suggest us so that we can improve our content, we can improve ourselves, and we can give a level best to the people, right?
Right.
Do you
And
also have something to add?
before you, you should, yeah, yeah, go on.
Yes, do you have anything else to add to this
Yeah,
what?
before you cut off this is just a last statement which I want to make through this video. Opinion itself a half-baked idea of yours, which needs to be, validated further.
Yeah.
So whenever next time you go and have an opinion of other, even maybe from someone whom you admire the most, you need to give second thought to that.
Yes.
And before you accept it as your opinion, make sure that you have done a thorough investigation on that particular point or the statement, whatever the words being spoken by your favorite speaker or whosoever it is.
Yes.
And then you will be able to reach a conclusive remark. And if you are able to reach to that point where you confidently, say in public that yes, I have confirmed it, and since this is the opinion which comes from the second source, even it comes from the second source, but just because of I have gone into a further investigation, and now here why I confirm it that it is something which is or could be my opinion.
Yes.
So accepting other opinion in that way is very good for the health of your mental state as well as for over your career, for your career. So this is what the difference and this is what the thin line we have to draw. So we cannot say that others' opinions are always unacceptable and therefore it's futile to even listen to those. It's not like this. We
Yes.
have to be into this investigating process.
Yes,
Okay, over to you.
it means if a person does the investigation, if the person does the thorough investigation, I would say, then they somewhere they'll be convinced of that opinion, because they would when something goes
Absolutely.
wrong, right? They will not be holding the person responsible, because the so and so person said this. I
Absolutely.
just applied that and just followed that with my eyes closed, and I got into trouble
That's
spot, right? I
uh,
got into a trouble spot.
that
So if you do that, if you do some investigation on the same, if you apply your logic, and then you come up with some
reasoning, right?
come up with your own opinion, you just just somewhere do some kind of you can say exercise, and then it comes out
Right.
of comes with sorry comes out with the opinion of your own. And then you can say that yes, it was mine and it really worked for me. It didn't work for
Absolutely.
me, whatever the means and the result is, but actually you will not be holding the other person responsible for that, right? So this is
And
what.
how many opinions in a day turned out to be a fact? Who knows?
Yes.
Because ultimately, if your opinion is well validated by the facts, it turns out to be a fact tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful on this.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, so this is what we have now we had to discuss, and we will be coming up with a new topic to discuss, and something which is going to be very interesting for people to listen to, right? For the time being, we are taking a leave. We will see you in the next video.
Yeah. Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night.